Hi, grade 10 students. Today what we're going to learn about is how to use Excel to do formulas, how to use Excel specifically to make mean calculations, standard deviation calculations, as well as how to graph charts. Quick review here, you can see that I'm looking at density. So I have some columns on mass and volume. And what I want to do is calculate density. So to do that, we just hit the equal sign and then we select mass, the mass column, and then we go to our formula at the top and we hit the division sign, and then we hit volume, and then we hit enter. Now we have calculation for density in the upper and left-hand corner there. And I'm going to grab this little sort of box in the bottom right and just drag and drop it down. And I've calculated density throughout. Now to calculate the average, or the mean density, what you would do is you just go, you can type in a column there, and underneath that I'm going to hit equals, and then I'm going to hit average. Type in average and it pops up there, and then I'm going to put a bracket. And that bracket will allow me to select, drag and drop down. And now I hit enter, and I've now calculated the mean or the average of this. You can also calculate standard deviation simply by putting the equal sign, picking a cell, typing in ST and then D, and then we're going to do standard deviation of an dot S. That means of a sample. And it starts a bracket for us. We select the data that we want to find the standard deviation for, and then we finish the bracket and then hit enter. I now have calculated the standard deviation for that sample. You can also calculate standard deviation for a population, but generally in science we are only not looking at the whole population of something. We are looking at only a sample of something. So generally you'll only ever use the standard deviation sample setting. Now, if we want to create a chart, we can do that easily as well. We select our data that we would like to chart. In this case, mass and volume. I'm going to create a graph with this. So I click Insert, and then I go to Recommended Charts, and it's going to pull up what it thinks I should make, and I am going to make that scatter plot. And if I can double click on that title, and I can change my title, in this case it's going to be mass versus volume, and I have a chart, which is pretty cool. We can also do some other editing options to this chart once we've made it. For example, once we've selected our chart, if we look at the top of our window here, what we have is we have a design option. We go to design, and then we go to add chart element, and then I can add and change the axis title. So in this case, I'm changing the horizontal title to represent my data that I picked on the horizontal, which is always the first column. So that's going to be mass. I'm also going to do the same for the other column. So that's going to be design, add chart element, axis title. This is going to be the vertical title, and this title represents the second column, and the second column in this case is in volume. And I'm going to type milliliters because we know that's the same as cubic centimeters. And so this is our chart graphing both mass versus volume. There's a bunch of different things that you can do to make this look nicer before you decide to copy and paste it into a Word document. You can just click on up here, and you can change the style of that, and it changes the size of the titles and different things, and it makes it look a little bit nicer. You can also simply click on this, and you can actually delete certain segments and certain parts of it if you feel like you don't want it. So I can delete some of my bars as well. So if I want to increase the amount of numbers that I have in this, I can just click on Format Axis. And if I format my axis here, I can change my major units if I want. And it's going to change the amount of numbers that I'll have on that axis, and that's really easy to do. So if I want to set it at 1, I could do that as well. That doesn't look so nice, so I'm going to leave it at 2. Okay, as well, the last thing I'm going to show you is you right click on it and you're going to say Move Chart, and you're going to make it as a new sheet, and we're going to call this Mass versus Volume Graph, and hit OK. And if we look, we have a brand new graph that's in a new tab all on its own at the bottom. If you want, you can right-click that, you can copy it and paste it into a Word document. Here I've changed my data slightly, so I have now my volume on my x-axis and the mass on the y-axis. To do that, I made sure that my data that I selected, I had my first column being volume. That means that's going to be on my x-axis, and the mass, which is the second column, is going to be on the y-axis. Now this is the data right here. I'm going to select it, right-click on it, and add a trend line. When I add a trend line, I have some options on the left here, or on the right here. It says linear. I'm going to say display equation on the chart and display R value. And this equation right here, remember equation of a line, y equals mx plus b, the m is 2.77. And that's interesting because if you look at our average was 2.64, which is pretty close together. So it's a different way of summarizing your data by charting it and finding the slope. It describes the relationship between the two variables that you're looking at. That's it for today. Today what we learned about was the following. Using Excel, we can find the mean, we can find standard deviation, we can make graphs, and we can find the line of best fit on that graph, and find the equation from it just by using a few simple tools. That's it for today. Thanks for watching.